It's the Vikings Coaches Show exclusively on your community voice, WRVS 89.9 ECSU.
Good evening, sports fans, and welcome to the Viking Sports Network right here on your community voice, WRVS-FM 89.9 ECSU. Randy Jones live in the studio this evening with ECSU head football coach Anthony Jones. Welcome again to the airways. Coach Jones, how you doing this afternoon? And welcome to the Viking Sports Network once again.
Thanks for having me. We're doing just fine, thank you.
All right, Coach. Well, the Vikings had a rough one coming up on this weekend as they took on the Braves of UNC Pembroke. It was a 51-6 loss for the Vikings. But let's recap this contest as we'll take a look at how this one unfolded here on this Saturday night. The Vikings got the football first, not able to do much with it in the first half as couple of bad punts kind of set UNC Pembroke up in good field position early in the contest, and they took advantage of it as they went up 14-0 early in the contest. But, the Vikings just had a tough time getting started on Saturday afternoon as they found themselves trailing 14-0 early, but still a lot of football left to be played up at that point. And were you still feeling optimistic at that point, hoping that the Vikings could start to execute just a little bit better?
Yeah, I mean, we went into the game thinking we can do some things against them, but obviously it wasn't meant to be. I think the biggest thing that happened in that football game is they were ready to play. We didn't match their intensity at all. They came out real intense, ready to go, and initially they kind of jumped on us, but had excellent field position with a couple opportunities, and we just didn't match that intensity from the offset. And so before you know it, we were down 14-0, and couldn't really get back on track. We're trying to find guys that make plays and opportunities, and offensively or defensively, and even special teams, but we just couldn't get on track. And, when things like that happen, I got to take full blame for it. I thought we were ready to play, but obviously we weren't. And we got to go back to the drawing board in that regard.
Well, Coach, you still take a look at this Viking roster. Still a lot of young guys on this football team. We still got a lot of sophomores, juniors, and then you look at that. You had a lot of guys who were on the team last year but didn't get any significant playing time. And then, just in the trenches, that yourself being a lineman guy and stuff like that, you're not going to go win or be competitive if you can't block, and just at least get a quarterback some time up front. And that seemed like it was a big problem on Saturday as well.
And it was. I mean, we lost it. We lost the battle of the trenches, no doubt, Saturday. And we got to work to get that back. Yes, we're playing with a young football team. We knew that coming into it. A lot of guys, when we feed them, the biggest group to stand up and go eat is our freshman group. So we know we have a young football team, and there was a new atmosphere for them, and some of them may have succumbed to that atmosphere and, of course, the level of competition. Those guys were pretty good. I don't think they were as good as we allowed them to be, but I think we could have played a little better if we had played a little better. The results would have been a little different, but they beat us. We're going to learn from those mistakes, not only on the mistakes that we made during the game, but also mistakes we made during the week. We just did not match their intensity when that ball game started. They were really ready to go, and it appeared we weren't.
Yeah. Hey, Coach, Vikings had a tough time moving the football as well. Only a total of 76 yards during that ball game. And that, as we looked at the third quarter stats, we were doing the broadcast, it was 39 plays for 38 yards. Like you said, the size factor. And it was evident to me on Saturdays watching, broadcasting the ball game. Those guys just looked, bigger than our guys, and wish they were. And, just at some of the skill positions, running back and things like that, we're a tad bit small, but those are some things like I said during the broadcast that are fixable, and I know that those things are fixable as well as being able to go out and recruit some of the guys and type of players that you want into the program, and hopefully that's going to come to fruition here real soon.
Well, I mean, that's something that we'll be working on. haven't had a chance to do a recruiting class. We signed some kids last year, but there's some things we got to work on, and we knew going into this ball game, into this season, we were going to have some shortcomings.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just trying to find ways to overcome them. We were able to overcome them the first week. This week we weren't. I'm going to say it again, they're a good football team, but the interesting part about this, Winston-Salem State beat them in their season opener. So it was a close game, but nonetheless they beat them. So if we want to compete within our own conference, we're going to have to get better, particularly up front on both sides of the football. So, and it starts with us matching that intensity or exceeding their intensity. We have to do that in practice.
Yeah. Coach Kendrick Patterson, they made him look like a freshman at times on Saturday, showed him different fronts, and they brought a lot of pressure. And then, like I said, the Vikings just had problems up front on the offensive line of the side of the football. And, but he still stood in there. He took some big shots, and he never wavered. And I know that'll be a learning experience as well for him. You hate to see your quarterback take shots, but, I thought that he managed the game for what he could, and he did have one pick six, and it was the only turnover that the Vikings had in that contest, and but I thought maybe again that he's continued to mature into the offense. Like I said, even though the stats didn't indicate that on Saturday, he still made some good plays at times, and I think sometimes the best play is just to play for another play.
Well, and that's true, and he's learning, and like I told him Saturday, I'm gonna take blame for the pick six because I kind of encouraged him to throw that way the very next play, but we should have read it, and some other factors went into it, but I encouraged him to throw that ball there at the start of the play, but they converted defense, and he didn't see it. I saw it, but he didn't see it, and so, but me encouraging him to throw there. It was a done deal. So, I told him it was my fault, and I'll tell everybody else that was my fault. So I'm going to take the blame for that one. They didn't bring a lot of pressure on us. They put a lot of pressure on us. Yeah. And what I mean by that is when you bring pressure from your linebackers, from your secondary, and things of that sort. Mm-hmm. Their front four was pretty good. They had a special front four, and that's how they put pressure on people from their front four. And we weren't able to contain their front four for the most part. We missed some blocks. We missed some opportunities, and they were able to get by us and put pressure on Kendrick. So that kind of happened, and I wish that was our only turnover, but we had a fumble. We also had a block kick.
Yeah.
And both of those led to scoring opportunities for our opponent. And unfortunately, we also had some penalties that aided and abetted the situation. So these are things that we have to work on, and we are a work in process. So, we'll continue to work. We'll continue to work to get better, take care of the penalties, which we had a lot of, but they had a lot of penalties as well. Yeah. But we got to take care of those penalties, and we got to get better at recognizing our assignments and executing those assignments as well. Yeah. With a high level of intensity.
And that Coach, as I looked at that game too, as I conveyed on the broadcast, they got a good football team, but we still had to execute. I thought, like you said as well, we could have made some plays, but we got to make the plays. You got to execute, and football is just a simple game. One team's going to execute and make the plays, and just unfortunately on Saturday the Vikings didn't execute. It came up on the short end of the stick. We're not going to really go into too much of the stats and all that. It's just one of those games that, hey, it is what it is. You just try to build upon it. Nothing you can do about that one for next week. And
well, what you can do about it is learn from it.
Okay.
And that's what we have to do. We went back, we watched all the film, we talked about the game. We're not going to ignore this because it happened. And if you don't learn from your mistakes, you'll tend to repeat them. And so what we're trying to do, which we have already done, we've addressed these problems, and we're going to learn from them. And that's part of this growth cycle that you have, your mama would tell you all the time that the stove was hot, and you didn't really believe it until you actually touched it. And so after you touch it that one time, you never touch it again to check and see if it was hot. So she tell you to stay away from it. You stay away from it. That's a learning experience. It's a painful one, but it's a learning experience. We just took a painful learning experience, and what we got to do is learn from it. We got to learn that when we sit around and we talk about the little things, we got to pay attention to the little things and not just the big things. And we're sitting here talking about certain things. We got to make sure we're listening and paying attention to them, because too many little things you let get by or get by you, it turns into a really, really big deal. And the first part of it was, you got to come out ready to play. You got to be ready to match that intensity or exceed theirs. And thankfully, that we have 10 games. This is only our second one, and I would love to have seen us getting a little better during that game, and we didn't. We took a little step backwards, but now we'll work to get better, and that's everybody, and that includes myself as well. I'm not just blaming the kids. There's me involved in this process as well. So we'll continue to work to get better, and we'll see where this takes us.
All right, then, Coach Jones, we're going to take a brief pause for the cause here, and we'll look forward to next week's game on the ECSU Coaches Show. So, hey, don't touch those downs. We'll be back right here on your community voice. It's Randy Jones, voice of the Vikings, along with ECSU head football coach Anthony Jones during the ECSU Coaches Show. We'll be right back right after this.
Have a question or comment for the coach? Send your email to VikingsCoachesShow@gmail.com.
You want information about your business or organization heard by thousands of people?
Yes, sir.
You do not want to spend a lot of money to make it happen? We have just what you're looking for. Become an underwriter on WRVS-FM 89.9. Our listeners will hear your message during their favorite shows. Whether you enjoy the news of Morning Edition from NPR, the conversations of Cafe Mocha Radio, or any of our programming, you make the choice. Call 252-335-3985 or find us at ecsu.edu/WRVS to get started today.
It's the Vikings Coaches Show on your community voice, WRVS 89.9 ECSU.
Welcome back here to the ECSU Coaches Show. Randy Jones, voice of the Vikings, along with ECSU head coach Anthony Jones. And, you know, I just had to ask you a little bit about special teams and, you know, the kicking game. And, you know, that has, you know, been a problem for the Vikings. I know it's something that's going to be worked on. But, you know, how important is it just, you know, as far as field position? Because, you know, last week's game seemed like we played the whole first half pretty much just on, you know, our side of the field, you know. And, you know, just being able to flip the field with the kicker. And could you just elaborate a little bit for the fans just how important that is and how that just goes into just everything, you know, kind of sets the tone for everything, field position that is?
Well, I mean, when you talk about special teams, you're talking about field position and points. Every time special teams go on the field, either they're getting points or they're exchanging massive amounts of yardage. No other defense don't do that every time they go on the field. Offense don't do that every time on the field. And so people tend to think special teams is not very important, but it determines a lot about your field position and also your ability to score. Now, I'll give you an example how this game went. You know, they had a total of 51 points on us. Okay, their longest drive, I think, was either 9 plays, maybe 10.
10.
For what, 68 yards?
Yes, 68 yards, 10
right.
for 68.
Now, you go and look at the rest of them. They had one drive for 5 yards. They had another drive for 20 yards. They had another drive for 30-some yards, and so forth. They kept starting with
great field position,
a short field to work with, and that's very discouraging because it's almost like a turnover. Even though it's not considered a turnover, it's almost like a turnover. You get a big punt return, and they get the ball on the 10-yard line. They get a block punt, they get the ball on the 5-yard line. They get another good return, the ball's on the 20-yard line going in. So, I mean, those are almost like turnovers. So when you play good, solid special teams, you flip the field, and they treat them just like turnovers. Well, I treat them just like turnovers. So a lot of people don't understand that, but I think our guys understand it now because they kept seeing we get faced with a long field, they get faced with a short field, and they get a couple of field goals. Now they're in field goal range. Okay. Jason is doing a great job for us, trying to make himself better, but we're asking him to do some things that he hasn't done before. And so that's an area that we're going to have to improve in the years to come. But for now, we got to understand the value of special teams, and we stress special teams all the time. We do 3 or 4 substitution meetings during our trip while we were down here, and again, I don't think our mind was focused on the task at hand, and we made a lot of mistakes. And we're going to try to clean them up and make ourselves a better football team. Last week, I need to bring this up. Last week when we played Central, there were a couple of plays that were called, and they were executed to perfection. And the guy said, "Coach, great call." It's not so much that it's a great call. There are times when you make special plays and the timing is perfect for those plays. But the bottom line will always boil down to execution. You can make a great call because we go back and we see it. And if we had executed, you see the potential that play had. But if you don't execute it, I don't care how great the call is, the play ain't worth nothing because of a lack of execution. And that's what we have to understand. Every man has a role to play. Every man has a part to play. And if he bypassed that moment, that play for that moment, it could spell disaster for that play, which will eventually spell disaster for the team trying to win the football game. So we have to understand that, and that's why I'm talking about that intensity. We have to be intense to the point where I know what I'm doing all the time, and now not only do I know what I'm doing, but I got to be physical enough to get out there and actually do it.
Yeah. Coach, we got a lot of local people listening. I had to make sure I did point out our bright spot on special teams this week. Zion Reddick, the freshman out of Hertford County, looked like you guys put him back there and gave him a chance, and he definitely made the most of his chance on Saturday. Kind of bobbled that ball a little bit, but was able to pick it up and recover, and really showed some good speeds on that on that play.
What else he showed? He showed some great heart.
Yes.
The kid is probably about 150 pounds soaking wet, and that's probably with a few bricks in his pocket. But when he caught that ball, he had one thing, finding a hole and hitting the hole, and he hit it. And when he hit it, he came out on the other side and turned on the Jets and scored the touchdown. And, I mean, that was a bright moment for the team, but I thought it was a bigger moment for the team and him as well because he came on here probably, if not the smallest, one of the smallest guy on our team.
Yes.
But made the biggest play for our team.
He did.
And he showed a tremendous amount of heart. He wasn't concerned about them guys flying down there trying to nail him. He took that ball. Once he picked it up, he took it full speed and hit that hole and came out on the other side. And then he came back and they kicked it to him again. We kind of fooled him into getting them kicking us to us again. And he took off again and hit the hole with the same amount of intensity. But this time they were able to shut him down, but he showed no fear going up in there. And that's what we need. We need to have guys who are willing to execute, as I said, their play with a high level of intensity and not worrying about, how fast I'm running or do I run up in this hole full speed or do I tip in and things of that sort. He showed no fear. And I pointed it out to the team. A freshman, that's probably $150.
If
but
that.
His heart exceeded that. And I was very, very proud of him and also very, very happy for him. Really did a great job for us.
Yeah, Coach, look like Riddick is definitely going to be vying for some more time back there on special team. And, just like you said, the kid earned it. You get a chance.
Not only will he play special team, but we're going to find some spots for him on that football field because he didn't sit around and cry about nobody's giving me a chance. When his chance came, he took advantage of it. So now we got to take advantage of him and give him some more opportunities. His willingness to play, I should say.
Well, Coach, I tell you what, we look forward to seeing Riddick play as well as the Vikings again. And we're going to kind of cut it short just a tad bit this week as we wanted to make sure that we get in a special interview that we had with ECSU Athletic Director George Bright during halftime of the game. So thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to take a brief pause for the calls and come back. We'll be talking. We will go to our interview with ECSU Athletic Director George Bright right here on the ECSU Coaches Show. So, hey, don't touch those dials. We got more coming up right here about ECSU football.
Have a question or comment for the coach? Send your email to VikingsCoachesShow@gmail.com.
This is ECSU Spotlight. The Department of Health and Physical Education prepares students for professional careers related to physical activity, recreation, and sports program management. Programs offered include physical education, teaching, and sports management with concentrations such as sports science and aquatic and fitness. Scholarships are awarded for qualifying students through the University Scholarship Program. To learn more about the Department of Health and Physical Education, go online to www.ecsu.edu.
It's the Vikings Coaches Show on your community voice, WRVS 89.9 ECSU.
I'm so excited to be joined here on the airways finally with new ECSU Athletics Director George Bright. And George, how you doing?
Mr. Welcome Jones, how are you, sir? Good to see you, man.
Hey, man, it is finally. I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. Finally get you on the airways.
Thank you, sir.
I know the outcome right now, the game probably isn't what we want to, but hey, it's only game number 2 of a 10-game slate, so
True.
You know how that goes. But we're excited to have you in Viking land and, just some of the changes. And I'm just so excited just to have you, some new energy, a new face, and a new voice for ECSU Athletics. And I just want to say for all the Viking fans and supporters, we're happy to have you in Viking
Well,
land.
I thank God for this opportunity. I am certainly humbled and excited to work with you and, of course, along with Chancellor Dixon and the cabinet. Her vision for what Viking land can become is transformational. I'm so excited to be just a part of the team. And thank you for the warm welcome that I've had, for the last few weeks. It's only been about 5 weeks, but I tell you what, it's been a great run thus far, and I'm really excited for what can happen.
Yeah, you talk about Dr. Dixon and her vision for Viking land. I haven't felt the energy and synergy there that she has brought to the campus in a while. And, I said it a little bit last week on the Viking Sports Network that, the Viking faithful, we know who we want as chancellor.
Right.
But we know it's a process, and we know they got to go through the process and do what they have to. But
I can tell you what, you mentioned control what you can control. There is such a great buzz that's on campus right now.
It is.
I mean, enrollment's up. Fundraising is up. The campus beautification efforts are tremendous. Students are having a great time. You talked about the run that's happening as we speak tonight and all the great events that we're planning. The Down East Classic coming up next weekend and so many tremendous things that are just here. So it's an exciting time for Elizabeth City State University, and I'm glad that I'm on board. I'm glad to be here with you.
Well, tell us a little bit about the new program that you got, the Viking Investors, the VIP Club, and we've seen that they've amassed close to over $80,000 in a new fundraising initiative for the athletics. And, we just had a great day of ECSU Giving. I want to give a big shout-out to Dr. Lee and his great staff over in development.
Yes.
ECSU Day of Giving. We broke our goal close to over $170,000, and now you guys with $80,000. People often talk about ECSU alums not supporting the university. I beg to differ.
Well, and so do I. I can tell you that it's really exciting to see our alums be involved in these efforts. What we even saw last night, I was down in Raleigh last night at a fundraiser, and just a few folks in the room raised over $16,000. I mean, it's just tremendous efforts. The Viking Investor Program, and those that are listening, please take a moment to join. And it's not about the number. It's not about what level you join. It's just about being a part of this revolution, if you will. We're really excited about what has happened. And just as a benchmark, we've raised more money athletically as of today than we did all year last year. So you can see what's happening with this Viking Investor Program. And kudos to Dr. John Lee and his staff, and of course to our chancellor and others that are out just pounding this pavement and raising funds, not only for athletics, but for scholarships, for band, and for all the other great and exciting things that are happening on campus at this time. So that's what's actually creating that buzz on campus, because people are not just talking, they're giving. I heard just the other night, and I thought it was great, Randy. You can give people give to 3 things.
Okay.
They give to the church, they give to their favorite charity, or they give to Uncle Sam.
That's true.
It's either one of those 3. So we're just asking those. If you get an opportunity, let's consider the Viking Investor Program, or at least consider the campus or the college. We've got a lot of great things going on.
After the Down East Viking football class, the Vikings come back down this part of North Carolina, take on Fayetteville State on the 22nd. Then the 29th, guys got St. Aug coming to town. I heard you might have something planned a little bit special for that game on September the 29th. in the River City. Got a big listening audience tonight, and they want to hear something good.
Well, I'll tell you what, when I first came in, I heard that we've got some relationships to rebuild.
Okay.
And I've been talking with our folks out in the community, so we're going to come out pretty quickly. Actually, going to wait for the Classic to end, but I know you're pushing me right now to tell you something. So you're hearing it first here with Randy Jones. You're hearing it first. Right. And what we're going to do is we're going to lower our ticket price to $1 for everyone in the Elizabeth City community. $1 under the age of 18. Come in the Roebuck, under 18, $1 gets you into the stadium. We're going to start with this because that we understand that we're a part of the community too. True. And I can tell you this: I'd rather have 100 people in the stands. All right. And with the receipts of $100 than have 5 people in the stands with receipts of $100. And this isn't about the money. This is about taking a step to help us rebuild our relationship with our community. And it's one step. It's not a major, big, bold, gigantic step. It's one small step in trying to do that. So we're trying to break this wall down and make sure that we can do that by asking our folks in our own community to come on through.
Well,
what do you think about that effort?
I think it's a great effort, and I think it's something that's long overdue. I think the community really is going to embrace it, and that's going to be on September the 29th.
Yes, sir.
Against St. Augustine's. It's going to be beautiful weather, and it'll be a great time for everybody to come out and just see some of the great things that are happening on the campus and meet our new Chancellor, Dr. Dixon, and just feel that Viking energy and the buzz that's percolating through the campus right now as well. So, this afternoon, Dr. Bright,
George.
Okay,
George.
I wanted to call you Doctor.
You call me GB. You can say, yo, whatever it is.
But again, any parting shots for the Viking faithful as you go? We got a couple minutes left, and the guys are making their way back. But again, we really have enjoyed talking to you here on the Viking Sports Network. And hopefully this is not the last time that you're going to be talking to you again. And like I said, all the great new initiatives, that we got going on within the athletic department. Again, I want to thank everybody that came out to McDonald's on this past week to help us with
thank
the
you for doing
show.
it, too, by the way.
No problem with that. And any parting shots for you, George, before we go?
Well, I can tell you this. I mean, we're excited about it. Of course, we all want to win, but I can tell you this. It's tough to guarantee national championships. But I can tell you that my staff, we are going to work hard as we possibly can to raise the bar and to get us and everyone on our athletic community to the next level. I mean, I'm excited to meet the alums. I met some parents and alums just over in the stands across the way, and to listen and hear about traditions and what we're doing right and how we can fix some things. I'm excited to hear those things as well. Had a great opportunity to ride down with Dr. Mackey.
Oh, God.
Spent some time and got some wisdom from Dr. Mackey and how we can. Yes, sir.
Where you stop and eat?
Oh, we had a couple stops, but he's got his places, doesn't he? All right?
Yeah, he does. So that's all I wanted to know. Like, where did you stop? Because everybody know if you ride with Mackey, you
got to make a couple stops,
and he gonna get some fried chicken. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But George, we've really enjoyed you, here on the Viking Sports Network again. Got 2 minutes before halftime again, and it's not going to be your last chance to talk to us and talk to the Viking faithful again. As like I said, we got a lot of great things planned for this whole academic year. We're just getting started,
Hey, man.
We're just getting started.
Alone we can only do so little, but together we can do so much.
It is.
So I appreciate your efforts. I appreciate the things you do for us, man. You've been with it for a while, and I recognize that. And I want to thank you on the air for your great work,
that, George.
great body of work.
Yeah, you know what? I'm getting a little bit sentimental here, and all my fans know that it takes a lot to get me sentimental, but I finally get some kudos, and we really appreciate it again.
You got it, man.
Vikings Coaches Show is produced at the WRVS-FM studios on the campus of Elizabeth City State University.